All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this session. I hope everyone is doing well. Um, Today, we are hosting a webinar for you on moving from feedback reports to action inside Salesforce. My name is Tanya, and I will be your host and moderator for the next 45 minutes. We also have an awesome lineup of speakers. I'm really excited for you to meet them, but just in a minute. A couple of things I want to check off before we get started. There is a Q&A tab enabled, so feel free to post questions at any time. We will take them on an ongoing basis, but we will also have time to take them live towards the end. And of course, just to mention, we are recording today's session. Expect to receive a recording, recap, and a copy of the slides in your inbox by tomorrow. And with that out of the way, I would hand it over to you. Peter, perhaps you can start with giving a quick introduction and then pass over the baton to Asbjørn.
Thank you very much, Tanya, and hello everybody, or good morning everybody. Nice to be here. Shortly, I've been working with CRM actually for 25 years. I actually worked 5 years for Salesforce, starting that in Denmark in 2007. So I really enjoy you all with Salesforce interest being here today.
Thank you, Peter. Yeah. My name is Asbjørn, and I'm here to show you our Salesforce demo. I have been working in NPS.Today for 7 years now, and I am a solution manager, so I help sales and CSM with all the technical tasks, and I also sit with the development team to help them prioritize tasks as well.
Awesome. Thank you very much, both Asbjørn and Peter. We all know, or at least some of us in the audience today knows the feeling of looking at a monthly or a quarterly NPS report and thinking, well, that's great, and now what? And today is actually all about that, moving from the what and deep diving into the how. We will show you how you can turn your Salesforce engine into a powerful and actionable platform from where you can measure, understand, and act on your customer experiences without ever having to leave the system. So the next 45 minutes, we'll focus on 3 things primarily. First, what are the most common challenges Salesforce-focused teams and organizations face? Second, what it takes to actually make feedback actionable right inside Salesforce. And of course, we have a live demo. Asbjørn is prepared for you, so you can see everything live, how the setup looks under the hood, and have a tangible experience of how everything comes together to create an operational CX program inside your CRM. So let's start with focusing on some of the key challenges that we have come across and we hear often from customers, especially those focused primarily on Salesforce. And Peter, I'm going to draw upon you pretty early for this, as you have the most experience with our customers who are sitting with Salesforce as a platform. And I would love to draw upon the insights you have, gained based on your experience over the past few years, and especially with some Salesforce-focused examples to make it more concrete.
I will be happy to, Tanya. Thank you. So I think that the challenge number 1 we see across customers is that data remains in silos, or their CX actually remains in silos. Different departments are using different systems, and very often we see they are making their own surveys on a departmental level instead of a common solution where they share the customer feedback. So data sitting in different customer systems and across different channels is one of the major challenges with data in silos and not being able to share it. And the next one is disconnected workflows. So maybe an agent closes a case in Salesforce, and then a survey is sent from another system, and then the response and the feedback will actually never get back and be connected to the customer and the case inside Salesforce, so the agent can actually see what actually happened next time they talk to the same customer. So disconnected workflows is another thing. And then the last thing, which is also a huge challenge, is lack of automation. So things are manual. We don't have an automated closed loop, so we measure, understand, and act in an automated way. We don't have automated follow-up tasks, etc. These processes with customer experience management are often manual.
Thank you, Peter. Really great insights, and also, you put a lot of color on it by, making specific Salesforce examples. So how do we make the shift, the real shift from moving or making your customer experience program operational and embedded, moving from periodic feedback reports to actually driving action in the here and now? Not something you look at later on in a report or a dashboard, but something you're acting upon today. So you want to move beyond the Excels and dashboards that we very often see, because let's be honest, they often lead to no or delayed action, which is not driving the impact that you would like from your insights. You want to move from that to actually having feedback mapped automatically and continuously back into Salesforce, so you can act upon it, as Peter mentioned, with the automation in place, with predefined rules and tasks and notifications, so that nothing is falling through the cracks. And the insights you are gaining, the painstaking steps and processes you've put in place to actually clean those insights from your customers, you're actually using them in the day-to-day and also to drive bigger changes across your organization. Socialize the voice of your customer across your organization, so you enable and empower them to actually action upon it. So how do you get to actioning upon feedback across the entire customer journey? So you first need a common customer pulse, a common way of showing feedback to your organization, a consistent way to measure it, a consistent scale across all touch points, across NPS, CSAT, and CES. So everyone has the same understanding of what a 1 stands for, what a 5 stands for, and what a 10 stands for. Customer Pulse is actually a unique part of our native integration to Salesforce, and it allows our customers to have a very structured and consistent way, not just to collect or measure feedback from their customers, but also to act upon it in a more structured way. And once you have the common customer pulse in place, there are basically two pieces you need to make it work in practice. The first is, how is it that you ask for feedback in the first place? And the other is how you collect and act upon feedback inside Salesforce, so you can drive some meaningful change from the responses. So let's start with the first one. How is it that you collect feedback, your survey strategy? And this is extremely important, because having feedback that's unclear to act upon is not worth much. And that would be a bummer, because you do take time and effort to create your CX program, send out the survey, and now you have the response in, but actually it's unclear what to do with it. And that's just not giving you a bang for your buck. At NPS.Today, we have created or built a system called the NPS-based smart question flow, as it's not about asking more questions. We know, we are more and more distracted today. That's just not going to encourage people to engage with the survey. And even if they do, they would be less inclined to do that the next time around, because then they will remember, that took 5.5 minutes and I don't have that time right now. So applying the smart question flow, you always start with an a consistent experience rating. This is always on the same scale from 0 to 10, which is the NPS scale. And the customization then actually happens in the question that you're asking. How satisfied were you with the recent sales meeting you've had? Or, was the response time on your recent support case satisfactory, and was your problem solved? The uniformity of scale is optimized for compatibility, usability, and actionability. Our approach is to optimize for action while still capturing the underlying experience through intelligent follow-up questions. So from here, you build an intelligent follow-up to the initial rating question. And this is, again, rating-based, as we are able to harvest ratings already from the first screen. So that tells us, is it a passive, it's a detractor or promoter? So you can choose what should be the follow-up question. So if someone has had a bad experience, you ask them why, and if they've had a great experience, then you build on that. The follow-up question can be supplemented by predefined categories and reasons, which are hugely powerful and insightful in their own way. And I'll actually speak a bit more to that in the next slide, so I'll park it for now. Just know that the categories are fully customizable and can be made bespoke to exactly what is it that you're measuring at from that point. If you need to ask more questions, though, we always recommend to keep your surveys as minimal as possible because we just don't have the attention span for it. But if you need to ask more questions, then a few additional questions can be asked in the same survey flow. And then finally, you complete it with a smart completion text, also rating based. So if someone is a promoter, you could gently nudge them towards Trustpilot. Based on our own data of our own customers, we can see the ones that follow the NPS-based smart question flow have high response rate and actually consistently meet and exceed the average industry response rate, which currently sits between 20 and 25%. One last advantage of the NPS-based system is that you also have the chance to have your customers segmented now. And segmentation is nice because, of course, you want to know your detractors, and because they are the ones who are going to point out all of the things that you don't want to hear is causing pain. But it helps you identify the promoters because this is, your groupies. These are the bunch of customers that love your service, love your product, they're loyal, and they'll be ambassadors because they can answer longer questionnaires and take those extra 20 minutes to give you those deep insights that you often require and seek, but are not always successful in getting back. A few more words on reason mapping, because this is just really where feedback becomes very actionable. It's one of those things which are very simple to implement, but provides tons of value and benefit to our clients. With reason mapping, you're not just collecting feedback, you start the process of structuring your feedback while you're collecting it. And the best part is everything is fully reportable. So over time, you can clearly see what is improving, where is it that you still have gaps, and have instant optics on emerging patterns and trends across your business. The second piece is actually how you build the second piece in creating an operational and actionable customer experience program inside Salesforce is how you build consistency in deploying surveys across channels and touch points, and how is it that you work with responses in an automated and intelligent way. So, for most Salesforce-focused organizations, what we see is that customer interactions is often very different events. It could be a sales meeting, it could be a new client has just been onboarded, a field engineer visit, or even the relational yearly annual survey. Now, ideally, when these different events happen, you want to be able to unify the feedback collection and processing process. So an ideal setup is that when a certain interaction happens in Salesforce Service Cloud or Salesforce Sales Cloud, that triggers a survey to your CX platform, which then triggers the survey further based on the channel that you've defined. And we recommend always choosing the same channel that the customer has chosen, because then they're most likely to engage in the survey. So let's say a case is closed or a customer is onboarded in Salesforce, that triggers a survey to your CX platform, which then further triggers the survey to the respondent. And the most common system triggered surveys are SMS and email, but our native integration to Salesforce is very powerful, and it also allows for triggering surveys in many different ways. So for example, you can embed them in Salesforce Lightning emails. You can also have them pop up in Salesforce chat or messaging, and of course you can have them embedded on websites or portals. So your CX platform is also your central command center. This is where you want all of your survey excellence logic to sit. So you're not going faffing around different techs, CX platform tech stacks and, increasing that complexity. So this is where you would control all of the let's say the logic around throttling and spam, because you don't want to spam your customers, especially as you measure them across touch points, across the customer journey. So today they got onboarded, tomorrow they have a bug in the software, they log in a case. You don't want them to get 2 surveys over a span of 3 days. So putting in logic like anti-spam and throttling, notifications to ensure the right parts of the business as we are being informed of all experiences. And also this is where you host all of your survey campaigns across the customer journey. So again, the surveys are not spread out across different systems, fragmenting data and creating silos. This allows you to stay in control at all times without adding, too much overhead complexity. When the response comes in, this is where the magic starts, because this is where it starts to get operational. So as a default, it flows back into Salesforce. It's not something you have to think about. There's no manual logging. There's no manual process to it. It's an automatic, continuous sync with Salesforce. So the responses are being mapped there where your team is sitting. They're being mapped on the account level, aggregated on the customer level. You can also see them on opportunities and cases. And the value for this is because now they can see the response. It's at their fingertips. So they know the past experience, and they can also take this into account the next time they're speaking with the customer, and they can see, last time Peter had a really bad experience, so I'm going to make sure this time around I can change that into a positive experience for him. For teams not sitting in Salesforce, a simple feedback widget can be downloaded to a desktop. And of course, you want to make sure you close the loop. So notifications and alerts can be set on channels where your team is sitting. If it's not Salesforce, it could be Teams, Slack, Outlook emails. But of course, for the team sitting in Salesforce, follow-up alerts and tasks can be created directly in Salesforce. Asbjørn is also going to demo this afterwards. So you're ensuring that nothing is falling through the cracks in your customer experience program. And the last level with how do you work with feedback is at the management level. And you can have feedback flow continuously also into Salesforce dashboards. So that is one way of working with feedback, or in your preferred BI tool, because then you can combine it with other company data to have a more holistic view of how you're doing, because now you can use customer response data with other company data like revenue, to get an overall understanding of your performance. And there's, of course, AI that can be used in the right way to enhance your responses, or to give you those deep insights that you're not able to get otherwise using standard tools. And that's where AI can come in to further enrich and enhance the responses you're working with. One last piece to mention is bringing feedback from all of the other systems that you might have within your organization also into Salesforce. So your project team might be working with Jira as a project management tool on Monday. You might have Genesys as a contact center system, or Freshdesk as a service desk system. And enabling an integration like we do for many of our clients with the cross-platform setup, where feedback from all other tools is also being mapped into Salesforce, gives you the chance to activate a true customer pulse and get a full understanding of the customer experience across touch points, whether it's from Salesforce or another system. Let's dive a little bit deeper into how do you actually, what can you do specifically when it comes to actioning upon the feedback. And again, Peter, I'm going to ask you to lean in and elaborate a bit more on this, if you don't mind.
I definitely don't mind. I love to. So talking about customer experience and NPS response management, we actually divide the response management into 3 different categories. First of all, there's the initial reaction. So we have a red dot on the radar. Someone had a bad experience, and now we need to do something about it. So having that notification really fast, actually live, means that you can actually reach out and recover a bad experience, maybe before it gets costly for you, maybe before you lose an order, maybe before a customer is leaving, maybe before a project is going off track. If you catch that early on, you can get it back on track early on, and that would save you cost, and it would increase your customer satisfaction. So this is based on the individual response. The next one is more about the customer pulse. So this is more a higher level. So based on several responses from the customer, experience over time, and experience from more people than just the individual respondent. So that's what we call the customer pulse. And then you can actually set alarms and notifications based on the customer pulse getting below a certain KPI or level you decided on, either for your A customers, B customers, C customers. That can be different. But this is about keeping your profitable customers and saving marketing funds, attracting new customers, and instead, keep the ones you already have by retaining them based on the customer pulse. And the last one is transformation. So this is based on business drivers, common reasons, bottlenecks, bumps on the road, whatever you call it. So you are identifying that a group of customers has an experience that is bad based on the same reason. So you might prioritize the worst experiences where most customers had the same experience and do something about it and drive more loyalty for a group of customers. So that's the transformation part. Yes. So how can you act on that? So the recovery management, well, on the individual level, that will typically be something that you do in your CRM system. And as Tanya mentioned, you can get a notification wherever. It could be in your collaboration tool like Teams and Slack, whatever, communication tools, but of course also directly inside your CRM system that is posted on the timeline for the customer, and you actually get a to-do that needs to be done. And if it's not done, maybe it should be escalated to a manager who would remind you to do it. Yes. And on the retention side, it's more about higher KPIs. So what level of satisfaction should we have on a client or customer or account, which could be different depending on how valuable the customer is to us. And then we'll build alarms based on the customer segmentation and the customer pulse. And then if an alarm comes up, we probably or might have a team talking together about how to recover and then make a strategic plan for that. And finally, on the transformation side, then we of course want to look into our feedback with AI instead of doing it manual like in the old days. So of course there's a AI feedback assistant in NPS.Today that can help us prompt our data and identify those drivers or trends that we should do something about. And then we can also be reporting on that inside our BI tool to identify the changes we're going to make with the highest impact. Yes.
Thank you, Peter. That was vastly informative. I really appreciate it. All right. I know it's been a bit of a theory, and I promise you have some exciting practicals baked in as well. And we're going to get into the demo just very shortly. Before we do that, I just want to mention some key value drivers of our native Salesforce integration, because this completely changes the math in how you've been working with feedback before. Instead of chasing data, which is what we have traditionally been doing, our plugin actually brings data to you. We're talking about a full unified feedback loop completely living inside Salesforce, which is also where your team is sitting. So of course, surveys can be branded in your brand colors with your logos. We recommend surveys to be branded because it adds a level of professionalism when you're reaching out to your customers for feedback, and also builds familiarity in their mind. And the plugin allows you to trigger surveys natively to Salesforce leads and contacts. Now, our plugin has been built inside the brain of Salesforce. It's not built alongside it, which means that you can use it natively with the flow builder and process builder inside Salesforce to automatically trigger time surveys based on certain actions happening inside Salesforce. You can, of course, go old school, just like the old days, and just send a bunch of surveys to a list of contacts on an Excel file. You can also handhold the process where needed and send out individual surveys to contacts. Let's say you had a specific situation that you would like to, get some feedback from the client on, and this is just not part of your regular survey strategy, then you can always request an individual rating. And then, of course, if you have a bunch of contacts, let's say you have NPS contacts listed out on your Salesforce organization, you can also create a list of contacts and then send a survey to those all together. Survey channels are, of course, SMS and email, the most common ones, but for Salesforce, our plugin also enables embedding ratings inside Salesforce Lightning emails. And the big advantage here is actually that the rating scale is fully embedded. It's not a visual, which means it's clickable. And this is also something that is helping our customers bring their response rate up, because instead of having a link that you click and go to another screen, which is not always the most intuitive UI, here you have the rating staring you in the face. And if you do nothing else, you might just click the button and we can harvest that. So you'll always at least have a rate. And of course, help create pop-up embed surveys on a website or a portal. Responses, as I mentioned, are mapped continuously inside Salesforce. Asbjørn is going to show you how everything looks in just a minute on the contact or account or customer page, but also on cases and opportunities, and of course also in Salesforce dashboard for deeper analysis. Finally, closing the loop, you want to make sure you act upon your feedback, you get the value that you intended in the first place. And again, you can use it with the native flow builder inside Salesforce to trigger automated follow-up tasks, alerts, and notifications, both for good experiences and bad experiences, because everything should be celebrated or learned from. You can also use set of flows or marketing journeys based on customer feedback and satisfaction levels. And of course, finally, doing a deeper drill down of your response data by combining it with other data, either in Salesforce native dashboards or your favorite BI tool like Power BI. So you have an additional lens, the customer response lens, from which to understand how you're doing as a business and where is it you should be focusing resources on. So we've seen now a little bit about, how you can have a unified way to measure, understand, and act upon your customer experiences, how you can do that all inside Salesforce. So you and your team are not, jumping around different systems. You don't have the fragmented systems or data silos. Asbjørn is now actually going to show you how it looks in practice with a live demo. Asbjørn, are you good to go?
I'm good to go. Thank you, Tanya.
Awesome.
And of course, you have already seen some of the screenshots, but it's always more fun to look at it in real life. At least I think so. So I will take over the screen. And before we dig into Salesforce, I just want to quickly show you how we set up a survey, because this webinar is, of course, about taking action, but we need to send some surveys out so we actually have something to take action upon. So in NPS.Today, we have something called campaigns, and this is what we refer to for the different surveys that we create. So for example, here we have a case close campaign that I want to trigger. And I can just edit it. It's the same way as you create a new one, and it's a scroll down setup. So when you get to the button, you are all finished. So here we will set up the name, the language, the subject, and the center of this survey. We will brand the survey so it fits our branding, and with the colors and logos. We can add an introduction text and, of course, the question itself. And if we scroll further down, we can add the follow-up question. We can add the reasons that we can later use for analyzing. And if we go here, we can add a conclusion text. So when we finish the survey, we can add some extra questions if you would like to do that. And in the settings, I would scroll past a lot of these features and just mention the most important ones for today. We can actually also set up an NPS notification trigger. So here we set up a trigger that will trigger based on the ratings that we define here. We can choose our email notification here, and this is something you could fully customize inside of NPS.Today. And then we define who should actually receive this. So in this example, I say that the responsible of the recipient will receive this email notification. And here at last, we can define our anti-spam and send out management. Should the same respondent be able to receive a survey, or should we add some kind of anti-spam filter so we make sure that the respondent should not receive a survey more than once within a specific time period. But for now, let's keep it as it is, and we can go into Salesforce. So I just want to quickly show you how it works and looks when you install our package in Salesforce. Here we have a contact, and as you can see, you are able to add different visuals. Here we have a trending graph, an average rating, and a distribution graph. So you can quickly get an overview of the state of this specific contact. You can also see the different responses that this contact has made throughout history. And we can also review all of them and quickly see what campaign it relates to, the comment and the rating, and so on. If we go back to the contact and directly into the account, you will see the same visuals here. Now all data is just aggregated upon all the responses that relates to the contacts on this account. So now you have a customer pulse, the average rating, and you can see that the trend is actually going upwards. So that is nice. Yes, so when data is syncing from NPS.Today to Salesforce, the responses is saved in something we call NPS responses. So this is the Salesforce object where we save our records. So every response is saved in Salesforce as a record, which means that you can use this data as all other data that you have inside of Salesforce. So for example, here I have created a report and from that a dashboard here. So here we see a timeline. We can add an NPS score. So we have an overall NPS score across all our customers. We could also add NPS score on revenue, as Tanya briefly mentioned. So here we can see we have a customer with a very high revenue, but a very low NPS score. So maybe we should focus on this customer to start with. We could also see the NPS score on different accounts. So actually we have all the data available to act on the customer pulse. Let's say if it drops below a certain point, we want to trigger a task or something that we should the employee should do about this. Yes, so this is mostly about how we visualize data, how you can use it to make it noticeable inside of Salesforce. But of course, we also need to trigger surveys. And what we have done here is that we are using flows. I don't know if all of you are familiar with flows, but this is what is behind your Salesforce and sets up all the automations that runs in the background. So just to start with, I will show you a very simple flow, just to show you how we have built this. So when you install our package, you will be able to add an action that is called request NPS rating. This is, you can add in all your different flows in your existing flows, or if you want to create new ones, and simply just click and add it wherever you would like to trigger a survey from. So here we define the campaign ID. This is the ID of the campaign in NPS.Today, so we know what survey should be triggered. We of course need to define who should receive it, if there should be a responsible, for example, as I showed you before with the NPS notification, and what is the ID of the record that is related to this response. But I will not show you today. I will not show you the trigger upon an opportunity closed. I will actually go back here, and we should see how it looks when we have a case that is closed. We'll just open it again. So now we'll go through the whole process of triggering a survey, see the respondent answer it, the data go back to Salesforce, and what we can do with that. So the agent now finished the case. You'll close it and save. So we will just wait a few seconds to receive the survey. It pops up here. So now the respondent have received the survey and actually will give it a fairly bad rating because say the issue was not fixed. There we go. And we could say that it's resolution time because it's not fixed yet. Click next, and no, it's not resolved, and we submit. So if we go back to NPS.Today, we can go to our campaign. And now we have our detractor saved on our campaign. And if we wait a bit, then of course, Salesforce and our package will then sync all the latest data back into Salesforce. So if we go to Salesforce again, we can just quickly go to the contact And as you see here, we have the response available. The issue was not fixed. It will, of course, affect our training graph and all the other visuals that you have here that you use to get a full overview of the contact. And in the same way, it will also affect the account and the customer pulse that you can use to, of course, drive action from all the data that's available. Yes, and then I also want to show you that you can also see it in Chatter here. So we have the response here as well. So this is all the different ways for your employees to actually notice that a new response have been made and if that we should do something about it. So as you maybe remember before, I set up a notification on the campaign. So here, the responsible, the owner of the case, now received a notification email, so we can see, of course, the answers on the survey, and we can see the relevant information of the respondent. We could also add some links, so I can quickly go to see my open task, or if I would like to see the related case, we can just quickly click on that. And I can quickly see, okay, so it's actually this case it was related to. And this, again, if you go to the dashboard, it will affect all the different data points that would use to actually act upon the customer pulse upon your accounts. But other than customer pulse, you also need to somehow react on a more individual level. And how we do this is that I have set up a flow. So when a response is added to Salesforce, we will create a task to the responsible employee in Salesforce. Here we go. And see here. I have to see open tasks. And let's see if the flow comes with the task. So for not waiting for the flow right now, I'll just show you the other one, another one. So this is basically how it will look. So you see that we have all the different information upon the response, and we can quickly see who was the respondent on this this incident and what is related to. So we can quickly go to the response and get the full overview of what is related here. We have the account, we can quickly go to the case and who is the contact related to this response. And now we go to the task again, because I am an agent, and I just quickly say that I called the customer and the issue is now fixed. So I will save this and mark it as completed. There we go. So now I have closed the loop and we have made it all the way around. And of course, in the same way, if you're a manager, you can also use tasks and then, of course, view all the open tasks related to the responses to see is there anything that we are missing out on or should act upon today. Thank you, Tanya. Back to you. You're muted, Tanya.
Okay. Thank you, Asbjørn. That was awesome. Always exciting to see a live demo. So I want to take, I'm sharing the screen, yes. I just want to take a few minutes to quickly touch upon artificial intelligence because, how can you actually use AI for your CX program? And, there are many different ways people are using AI, for customer experience program, for response management, for working with feedback. And we have also, spent time thinking about, where does it create the most value? And this is our recommendation in how you can actually use AI to further enhance your customer experience program. So use AI to enrich your responses where you need it, because in the most cases, you would actually be able to get most of the information you need if you have, the right survey strategy and the right channels and the right times for deploying the surveys. But you can enrich it in specific cases, especially when you're looking for deeper insights, and that's where you can actually use AI to enrich your responses, potentially to get executive summaries, and then use your preferred BI tool to report on it. You can also use it to look for information that you're not actively measuring on, but there could be some specific keywords that you would like to know if it's being mentioned in customer feedback in some shape, way, or form. And the other way you can work with AI is just like how we all use Claude or ChatGPT today. We prompt it, we talk to it like it's a sparring partner. And on exactly those lines, we have the NPS.Today AI feedback assistant, which you can just prompt and ask for, how are we doing? What is the feedback from the past week? What are the promoters, detractors, and passive saying? And what are the 3 top things I should ask my team to focus on for this week? And then assign, the tasks accordingly. So it's much more intuitive rather than working with cumbersome reports and dashboards, which also, of course, has its place and has value. But it's more intuitive the way we work with AI, and that's also something that you can do with response data and completely change, how you've been doing it in the past. So some key takeaways to summarize, how can you make feedback more actionable inside Salesforce? You need to have a common customer pulse, work with a native Salesforce integration, so a CX partner like NPS.Today, which has native solutions for Salesforce. Think about your survey strategy, have a smart question flow in place, so you're asking less, asking better, but still getting the bulk of the information you like, and then have a full closed loop automation in place so nothing is ever falling through the cracks. If you found this interesting and relevant, you'd like to continue our conversation, have further reflections, feel free to reach out. My information is on the screen. You will also have access to the slides tomorrow, so you can also grab it from there. And I've put together some interesting collateral that I'm sure will be worthwhile. Give it a quick read. There are some additional CX resources, some inspiration articles, some case stories, and quite a few of them are actually from customers using Salesforce. So it's an interesting read to see, what is the exact value they got out of our plugin solution. And of course, if you want to get into the weeds on the more technical side of things, we also have the Salesforce product card on the screen, so you can also have that information. I can quickly jump in and see if we have any questions that have come up.
I just checked that, Tanya, and I don't see any questions at the moment.
No,
So,
okay, so we're good. But then thank you very much for joining. We appreciate it. And, don't be a stranger. Reach out if something piqued your curiosity. And as I mentioned, you'll receive a recording of everything by tomorrow. Have a lovely rest of the day. Cheers.
bye-bye.
Bye-bye.